What drives a global superstar to quietly step into the shadows of disaster and extend a helping hand? In the wake of South Korea's most devastating wildfires, which have claimed at least 28 lives and displaced tens of thousands, a beacon of hope emerged from an unexpected source. Jin, a member of the globally acclaimed boy band BTS, was recently spotted volunteering at a relief center in Anong, North Gyeongsang Province. Dressed modestly in a black cap, mask, and gray apron, he served meals to those affected by the calamity, embodying humility and compassion. The wildfires, which began on March 21, 2025, have been described as the worst in the nation's history. Fanned by strong winds and dry conditions, the fires rapidly spread across central and southern regions, leading to mass evacuations and widespread destruction. Historic sites, including the Gyeongsa Temple and Haho Folk Village, faced imminent threats, underscoring the cultural loss accompanying the environmental devastation. Amid this chaos, Jin's unpublicized visit to Jilin Middle School, a designated relief center, stood out. Collaborating with renowned chef Baek Jong-won's company, The Born Korea, Jin participated in meal services aimed at providing comfort to evacuees. His presence was discreet, yet his gentle demeanor did not go unnoticed. Residents recognized the superstar, and his actions provided solace to many grappling with the aftermath of the disaster. In a heartfelt moment, Jin addressed the victims, stating, "I will come back again." These simple yet profound words resonated deeply, bringing many to tears. Fans and locals alike were moved by his sincerity, with social media platforms flooded with messages of admiration and gratitude. One fan expressed, "Truly a nation's pride," encapsulating the collective sentiment. This act of kindness is not an isolated incident within the BTS community. Other members have also stepped forward to support relief efforts. Jungkook made a significant donation of 1 billion won, while RM, J-Hope, and Suga each contributed 100 million won to assist victims. Their collective efforts highlight a commitment to social responsibility that transcends their musical endeavors. The severity of the wildfires has prompted introspection on a national level. Acting President Han Duck-soo labeled the fires as the worst in the country's history, emphasizing the need for comprehensive disaster management strategies. Investigations revealed that some fires were inadvertently caused by human activities, such as ancestral rites involving fire near family graves. These revelations have sparked discussions on preventive measures to mitigate future tragedies. Jin's altruistic gesture serves as a poignant reminder of the impact individuals can have, regardless of their stature. His promise to return not only offers hope to the victims, but also sets a precedent for others in positions of influence to contribute meaningfully during times of crisis. As South Korea embarks on the arduous journey of rebuilding, the solidarity demonstrated by figures like Jin illuminates the path forward. In the grand tapestry of global stardom, it's often the quiet, unheralded moments of compassion that leave an indelible mark. Jin's commitment to the wildfire victims is a testament to the profound connections that can be forged when empathy transcends fame. But what exactly happened during that emotional moment? Why did his simple promise strike such a powerful chord in the hearts of the people, even those who weren't physically there? And how did the world respond when the footage finally emerged? When Jin stood in front of the displaced victims, many of whom had just lost their homes, their belongings, their pets, or even loved ones, he didn't come with bodyguards or a press team. He came with a ladle, a serving tray, and a heart that had clearly been moved by the suffering around him. The silence in the room was palpable. It wasn't the silence of shock, but the silence of souls that had just been seen, truly seen, by someone who didn't have to be there. A grandmother, wrapped in a blanket and still trembling from the cold night air, was the first to recognize him. Her eyes widened, not with the awe of meeting a celebrity, but with the disbelief that someone of his stature would kneel beside her, hand her a bowl of soup, and ask softly, "Are you warm enough?" And then he said it, the promise that would be repeated in captions across social media, printed on posters and shelters, and turned into a symbol of hope. "I will come back again." These 5 words, spoken with sincerity and quiet strength, broke the emotional dam. One volunteer described the scene afterward. People weren't just crying, they were sobbing. One woman held her child and said, "Even our president hasn't visited. But he came. He came." Fans watching the moment unfold in a later released video were no less affected. The clip, quietly uploaded by a small volunteer channel and later picked up by major media outlets, showed Jin calmly wiping his hands before joining a group of elderly evacuees for a meal. He listened to them, Not the way celebrities usually listen for the cameras, but the way you listen when your heart is invested. What drives someone to do this, especially without any PR announcement, media coverage, or promotion? This was no photo op. Jin didn't come to boost his brand, and he certainly didn't come expecting recognition. In fact, it was only after locals began uploading blurry, shaky footage and sharing first-hand stories on social media that news even broke of his appearance. Initially, fans thought it was a lookalike, until clearer images revealed the undeniable truth. It was really him. The moment struck deep. Not only had he visited the shelters in the wildfire zones, but he had done so during his personal time, just weeks after resuming public life following his military service. He could have been enjoying the comforts of rest, music preparation, or a luxury vacation. Instead, he stood amid smoke-scorched hills and rubble, among tearful survivors. He was even seen comforting children who had been crying, offering them warm meals and attempting lighthearted jokes to lift their spirits. A particularly moving clip showed Jin gently handing a small boy a cup of warm barley tea. The boy whispered, "Are you an angel?" Jin smiled, held back his tears, and simply replied, "No, but I wanted to help." And then came the flood. Not of fire this time, but of emotion. In Seoul, a mural was commissioned by local artists and funded entirely by donations from ARMY, BTS fans. It depicted Jin in his volunteer apron, holding a bowl, with the phrase, "He came back for us," written in bold Hangul below. The mural quickly became a pilgrimage site, with people leaving notes, flowers, and even hand-drawn sketches of hope and recovery. Why did this act resonate so deeply? Not just in Korea, but around the world. It's because, in an age of curated perfection, filtered emotions, and performative activism, Jin's action stood out as startlingly real. He reminded people that empathy doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. That sometimes, the quietest voice in the room can have the most profound effect. His promise, "I will come back again," wasn't just about returning physically. For many, it symbolized something deeper. It meant that in a world of temporary fame, broken systems, and cold bureaucracies, there are still people who care. People who show up. Jin showed up. He didn't fix everything. He didn't have to. His presence was enough. But how did Jin himself feel afterward? A few days later, a simple handwritten note was shared via BTS's official fan platform. It read, "To the brave people I met, thank you for letting me be part of your day. Your strength moved me more than you'll ever know. I will return. Until then, stay strong and know that you are not forgotten." Jin, that note, now laminated and taped to dozens of shelter walls across affected regions, became a symbol of resilience. In the face of flame, he brought warmth. In the ruins, he brought restoration. In the silence, he brought a voice. This is the Jin that the world is now seeing, not just the performer, not just the idol, not just the worldwide handsome face on billboards, but the human, the volunteer, the comforter. As the country slowly begins to rebuild, one question remains. What would the world look like if more people, especially those with influence, followed Jin's example? And perhaps, even deeper, what if we stopped waiting for governments and systems to save us, and instead, inspired by Jin, began saving each other, one small act at a time? Because sometimes, hope doesn't arrive with sirens. Sometimes it walks in quietly, wearing a mask and apron, and says, "I will come back again." How far can one man's simple act of kindness echo across a fractured world? In the days that followed Jin's quiet promise, "I will come back again," the ripple effects spread far beyond the wildfire zones. The story began making its way into classrooms, newsrooms, political discussions, and even sermons in places of worship across Korea. People weren't just praising Jin, they were inspired to act themselves. And that was the true miracle, a spark of humanity in the wake of tragedy. The wildfires had scorched more than just landscapes. They burned through homes, history, and hearts. Sanching, a serene mountain village now blanketed in ash, looked like a war zone. But amid the charred ruins, something incredible had begun to grow. Unity. Shelter workers reported an overwhelming surge in local volunteers in the days after Jin's visit.